Let's move on. They did it. The Texas Rangers have done it. They are the winners. They are your 2023 World Champions. I got to give it to you, Tay. You called this. You called this at the beginning of the playoffs. You came here and said, all right, listen. You looked at me, you said, I'm just saying. They got a chance. And I was in here, I was like, I don't know, man. They kind of crept in here. They don't have the pitching. They don't have. He's like, listen, baseball's a different monster when you get in the playoffs. I said, I get it. He's like, things can happen. Things can happen. And they did it in a very, very, very unconventional way. They were 11-0 on the road. Someone had a great acronym that I saw on Twitter or X or whatever you call it now. And I believe that the Rangers in this playoff run in MLB history had the most road victories. 11. And so they epitomize the term road warriors. And someone said I'm scared to spell road now. R-O-A-D, right? You don't want to spell stuff wrong. They're like, you're dumb. R-O-A-D. They beat the Rays, Orioles, Astros, Diamondbacks. 11 road victories. You know how hard that is? Like you play for positioning so that you can get the home field advantage. But for the Rangers to go on the road and get big victories, I think they only won one home game, right? 2 home games in the entire playoffs. 2 home games, 11 victories on the road. First championship in franchise history. And, the parade has happened. Over 500,000 people at that parade. This fantastic for this franchise. This is a franchise, an expansion franchise first, right? This was started in Washington as the Senators, then moved to Texas in 72. 51 years. More than 51 years. I mean, if you go back to the Washington Senator days, first championship. We all know about what happened in 2011. So close. That close. Tay and I was arguing about what was the most heartbreaking loss. I was like, oh. He was like, man, I'm telling you, brother, 2011, that was probably one of the most heartbreaking. I was like, 28-3 doesn't hurt either. Like, that hurts pretty much. He's like, I don't know. But this is a team that did the unthinkable. Not a roster, not a sexy roster. Not a roster that is littered and filled with names that give you night chills. You think about like a team like the Yankees, think about a team like the Dodgers and Boston. I mean, those teams are like the best teams money can buy. Some of these baseball teams are the best teams that money can buy, and the names are so recognizable that when you start looking at, like, wow, man, how do we beat a team like that with that type of roster? But when you look at what this team had accomplished and how it was built, bringing in CY, you know what I didn't realize? CY is a big dude. Like, when you see him standing, you're like, it's a big dude. You know what I mean? Like, this is a big dude. But you bring in CY. Then CY comes in and he says, all right, let me survey the landscape. What do I need? Let's start at the top. I need a skipper. I don't need just any old skipper. I need someone with a little bit of pedigree. I need someone who has, because here's the biggest thing. When you're going through changes, when you have to, especially when you come in as the new guy, you have to survey the entire landscape. Oftentimes, you need to fire a bunch of people. Because in order to get your message across, you have to eliminate some of the people who have the old messaging that probably won't let it go. See why I said, let me pick up the phone and let me call somebody with a little bit of experience. That doesn't have one, that doesn't have two, but has 3 World Series championships. And he called up Bruce Bochy, who was just chilling in Nashville. He was chilling. He was chilling in the garage. He was just playing his banjo. And he said, I need you. And he comes and Bochy becomes the 6th manager to win 4 titles. 4 titles. The other 5, Casey Stengel, I say that right? He has 7. Joe McCarthy has 7. Connie Mack has 5. Walter Alston has 4. Joe Torre has 4. All of them are in the Hall of Fame. I think, without a shadow of a doubt, when old Bochy decides to hang it on up, he'll head over to Cooperstown as well. But you bring old Bochy in and you say, listen, here's what we have. And then you begin to start spending some of the money, right? You spend some money and you bring in some more experience. You go get a guy in Corey Seager. You bring him in, you pay him a boatload of money. This is the guy who's already won a World Series and was the MVP for the Dodgers in 2020. Then you go get guys like Marcus Semien and you start putting pieces together. You got El Bombay for cash. For stripper money. You brought in El Bombay for some loose change. They did something strange for some change and brought in El Bombay. You bring in Max Scherzer. You bring in, who's the other pitcher? I'm drawing a blank right now.
Montgomery?
No. He got hurt. DeGrom. Jacob DeGrom. I mean, so you start adding these pieces to this roster. And I truly believe that maybe this team may have been, would you say, a year early? 2 years early?
With DeGrom going down, yeah.
About a year early? I think they were building to something. May have been a year early, 2 years early. But I truly, and I know that I'm always pro player, right? Because a coach doesn't do anything technically on the field. But this feels like, man, this feels like Bochy was able to pull the proper strings and tune up the fine instruments of the players and get them in a position. But the money was well spent. Of course, Seager, Semien, John Gray. I mean, you look across it. I mean, guys were brought in to get them to a place. But managing the talent, managing the egos, managing the slumps, managing the injuries, managing all those things, and this 162-game season with the ups and downs, and you're riding high, and then you're not so high, and getting them back up again, and this guy who's supposed to be an ace pitcher for us, he's hurt. Now this guy who's supposed to be in the bullpen, he can't fit. Bats are, all these things are happening. And they can just continue. They just continue. Boom, boom, boom. And you lose at the end of the year. You lose a division to that other smelly city. That city smells too. Philly stinks. Physically stinks. And Houston stinks. Houston smells like sewage. It does. Fine women in Houston, though. But it stinks. And now you head into the playoffs with a lot of questions. I'll be the first to raise my hand. We had a lot of behind the scenes. I had some questions. And they just went after it. Boom, boom, boom. Nathan Eovaldi, what a playoff. You watch that final game in the way that he was putting runners on bases, and you're just like, and he's getting out of it. Houdini couldn't get out of some of the stuff that he was getting out of. And that's when you kind of knew, like, yeah, it's their time. It's their time. And shout out to all of the Rangers fans, being here locally in the DFW area, you've seen just how sports is a great thing because sports brings people together. Race, religion, economics, doesn't matter. If you got a Cowboys hat on and I got a Cowboys hat on and it's Sunday and we playing Philly, brother, sister, we family. But when you hear the stories, I didn't come from a family, me personally, I did not come from a family where it was like, my dad took me to said games. My granddad, we listened to it on the radio. My family wasn't a family that took part in these things. But you hear the countless stories of, man, I remember when I was a child, my first baseball game was me and my daddy took me to see the Rangers. My grandfather was one of the biggest Rangers. My mom was a boy. I wish my dad was still here to see this. He was the one that introduced me to baseball. My granddad helped me, he showed me how to throw a four-seam fastball. My uncle, my great uncle was the one that first showed me how to fold my hat, to carry a glove, took me to my first ball game. I remember when. And you hear all of these stories, and that's the pastime that kind of baseball brings. And you hear it, like with the parade happening, have happened, you hear all of the deeply rooted stories of people coming out and saying, I wish my dad, granddad, uncle, mom was here to witness this because they were such great fans of the Rangers. And I'm sure you can go across the landscape to any team. Pick a team. Pick a team that's won a championship. And you can say, my mom, my dad for that team. And that's the special part about sports, is that you have these bonds and relationships that are built around the game. Some of the people my age remember sitting around the radio listening to the Rangers games in the garage with Paw, with Granddad, with my uncle. And for it all to come to fruition and them winning a World Series. And many people say I cried because we've waited this long, 51 years plus for a franchise that I think 2 years ago had the longest consecutive losing streak in games. For it now all to be washed away because you're now the 2023 World Series champion. Some of the things that'll be Cooperstown bound. Boshy's ball cap headed to Cooperstown. Seager's helmet headed to Cooperstown. Carter's batting gloves headed to Cooperstown. Simeon's jerseys and Evaldi's spikes are some of the among the World Series memorabilia that'll be donated to the Hall of Fame. Pretty cool. Pretty cool that you'll always be etched in history in the Hall of Fame. But there's always a losing it. There's always the losing part of it, right? There's a team that had to lose. And there's 5 teams in MLB that are still without a championship. Colorado, the Rockies, the Brewers, San Diego, Seattle, the Mariners, and the Tampa Bay Rays.